Welcome back. Well, we didn't realize with all the COVID taking away our attention that we are also ending the decade, not just ending a year. And so since the past week, we have been getting you wealth creators or winners of the decade. We have some filters in terms of profit growth, revenue growth and market cap growth. So on our list of wealth creators for the last decade right now is Chola Investment. The company's assets under management and net interest income have grown at a compounded annual rate of 25% in the last 10 years. Profit has compounded at over 50%. Arulselvan, Executive Vice President and CFO, Chola Investment and Finance, joins us now. Mr. Arulselvan, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. Well, that's a steaming rate, helped by demonetization and a whole host of things. Will it slow down a bit now because of the Reserve Bank coming with an overhang of what will they do to big NBFCs? Also, a little bit of iffiness because of COVID. Do you think the current and the next year could be slower years?
No, actually, I feel unless there is a large relapse like the European countries, COVID is behind us, and we are already moving ahead with bringing it back to the pace at what we were growing pre-COVID levels, both in the case of disbursements, profitability, and on our collection efforts. So we see that we should be better off. As a matter of fact, pre-COVID, the auto industry was struggling a bit because of their load factors, then BS6, etc. So we should see the auto industry coming back in its full form in the coming financial year. That's what our expectation is, and so we are gearing ourselves to grow much more faster and catch up what we lost in the COVID year.
Oh, that's music to our ears. If you can give us a little more in terms of the current quarter or the current situation itself before we come to more visionary questions. How have collections been? Do you see a distinct improvement in people repaying? Is business really coming back to the CV sector?
So the current quarter is going to be the most tight or the toughest quarter because post moratorium and there are certain segments which has still not come out of its COVID's pressures like bus segments, school buses and employee transfer buses, etc. And to some extent the heavy commercial vehicle, especially the secondary fleet operators, that is the guys who supply vehicles to the fleet operators. So, but for this, I think most of the other segments have come back to normalcy. They may not be operating at very comfortable 80% plus capacity utilization. That would be the most sweet spot to be in for them. But I think they are almost there, like around 70 to 72% type of capacity utilization, which gives them a very close call on the cash flows. But still, they have surplus to spare for the payment of the EMIs, which is what is our first concern would be. So we are seeing distinct improvements in the collections month on month. But as I said, this quarter is the one where we have to run it very, very tightly from a collection perspective. We are seeing good traction from our customers. We have spoken about this earlier. The moratorium customers, more than 95% of them have started paying. And for those segments which are in the little tight spot, on a very restricted basis, we are using the restructuring mode.
Okay. Mr. Selvan, good morning. In fact, I just wanted a bit more granular details on what's happening with certain segments. I was going through your presentation, and within vehicle finance, about 21% of your finance goes towards light commercial vehicles and 9% goes towards tractors. These are two spaces that have done exceptionally well in the last 6 months or so, because of an improvement in the monsoon as well as e-commerce. Have you seen accelerated growth here, and what could the overall AUM growth look like, not just in these two pockets but overall for vehicle finance?
See, these two segments which you have spoken about are predominantly also operates in the rural segment. The rural segment has been doing well because of good monsoons and the good crop cycle that is going through. So that's where you're seeing this traction of a quick recovery in these two segments. And yes, traditionally we had always been playing, a larger role in the light commercial and in the rural. More than 85% of our branches are in the rural. So this helps us to quickly capitalize on these growth segments. We also have other segments. We are quite, experienced in handling almost all the auto segment sub-segments. So that's where we keep moving between the segments to make sure that our growth is, kept steady, and also without taking undue risk. So we are confident that these segments will continue to grow. Yes, e-commerce is also playing a bit on this, but these segments will grow. Of course, there is a lot more competition coming in, when there is a growth segment, as when there is growth happening in certain segments. But since we have been traditionally operating in this segment, and our underwriting principles and our contacts have been very good, we are confident that we will continue to grow well.
Okay. Mr. Selvan, you did say it's a tough quarter. Can you give us some guidance? How have collections been? What may be the slippages? And what will be the growth?
See, what you would have seen from March level, or if I have to go one step back, from December level, the March NPAs had been slightly higher. Then in June and in September, we were able to bring this down drastically. But this is a little bit artificial, I should say, because of the moratorium effect. Now, the post-moratorium, you will see some bit of a bounce back on this stage 3, or what do you call as the NPAs and in India's format stage 3. But certainly this will be much more contained even from a March level. That's what is our target, and we are working towards that, and we are confident.
Okay. And
so it may move up a bit from the September level, but it will be still a very comfortable.
Okay, but what about revenue? I mean, your spreads had improved even when you reported last time. And now money is really available for the asking. We were just discussing Sundaram Finance raising, 10-year money at 7.3. So cost, can you tell us something about how much cost has fallen for you? How much might margins improve?
See, certainly the NIMs will improve. It will be as good, if not better, than what we saw in the second quarter. So there is a further reduction in our cost of funds as we move, and we are also seeing some amount of improvement in the yield of the products, because we have moved to high yield products. So certainly there will be traction. So to this quarter, the only area where we need to be careful and where we need to focus on is more on the NCL. Our OPEX will be in control, our NIMs will be better. We need to take full precautions and full attention to be taken towards the NCL, because as I said, post moratorium we are now having to handle the entire book, and we are we are confident of keeping the NPAs lower. We will see some amount of NCL jump in the numbers, but still I am confident that the profitability and the profit numbers should be good numbers as we talk.
Okay. Another sub-segment that you finance too is this self-occupied residential property segment. About 80% of your LAP and SME book comes from self-occupied residential property itself. Have you seen a growth in AUM there? The reason I'm asking is because now in this post-COVID era, this whole residential property segment has gone up quite a bit. People prefer to own their own homes. Can you just give us some granular trends of what's happening there?
See, the segment which you are talking about is where there is already a residential property with the borrower and an unencumbered state. So that is against that we lend to the borrower towards his business loan. So this is nothing to do with the new home purchase. So these are mostly MSME loans. I would say 99% MSME loans, where we give them for a business purposes. This segment will see some amount of slower growth, because most of the borrowers are more in the tier 1, tier 2 cities so far. We are now expanding the reach, leveraging our vehicle finance branches, but it will take a little longer time for this to go deeper into the tier 3, tier 4 cities. Also because of the condition that the property documentation and then the hypothecation creation, etc., it takes a little longer and a little bit cumbersome in as you go interior. So that's where we are careful to not to extend it in a very aggressive manner, but we will be going down that segments as things improve in the documentation and then more of computerized documents are available. So this segment will grow maybe in the range of around 10% as we speak for the full year.
Okay. Well, one final vision statement from you. I mean, you've put behind a great decade, 25% AUM growth, 50% profit growth, 35% market cap growth. To the extent you can see the future, how does it look?
Future is bright. We have been doing well over cycles. We have seen different cycles. I would proudly be able to say that post our DBS, on the personal loan, sort of a debacle way back in 2010, 2008 to 2010, there had been no turning back. And to top it all, we have also got our old MD now in the avatar of the chairman. Mr. Alan Subaya is back to lead us. So with all this, I think you can be rest assured that we'll go places.
Okay. Yes, we did speak with him a few weeks back. Thank you very much, Mr. Arulselvan, for joining us, and have a great 2021. In your case, I should be saying have a great decade.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for.
Okay, so actually we've already flashed the decadal numbers for you of Cholamandalam, but as is our practice, we'll just give you the last 3 years as well. Very quickly, this is the net interest income, the way it has grown. I'm not surprised that it has made it to the decade winner as well. So here you have the last 5 years. And you will also have the gross NPA movement. Okay, the profit after tax first, and then you'll have the gross NPA movement. But anyway, it's a decadal winner.
Yeah, been one of the best in class, like we have been discussing, and the stock, of course, has done well. By the way, the market is in the green now, at least on the Sensex. Like we discussed in the morning, at some point the big buyer would come. At what point does he come? That's the point. And you've seen from lows, stunning recovery. It's mainly nifty because of Larsen and Toubro. Larsen and Toubro is now at high point of the day, and it's getting decent support from Reliance. So both these